Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. It is your host with the most, Griever, as always, bringing you guys, as you guys can tell from that title, another chapter review. Chapter 237, in fact, of Akatsuki no Yona, also known as Yona of the Dawn. Yona of the Dawn, chapter 237, and my monotone singing voice is ready to talk to you, ladies and gentlemen, about this chapter. But first and foremost, before we even get into the chapter proper, can we talk about that cover page? Can we talk about the adorableness, the cuteness of that damn cover page? Dare I even say kawaii? Yes, the otaku's coming out for such a cute ass cover page. We have Zeno, his hair all up in a nice ponytail. I miss my ponytail. All up in a nice ponytail, and he's trimming because Yona is so busy doing everything else. He decided to take over the duties and give Hawk a haircut. The Mister gets a haircut from Zeno. That's probably one of my favorite cover pages I've seen in a long ass time. And I mean in general for all the series I read. Some don't actually have cover pages necessarily, but the ones that do, this is probably my favorite one in a long while. Certainly so far my favorite one of 2023. Absolutely. And probably will be going forward into the month of February. Now, let's talk about this chapter, because here's something that I don't think I saw anybody consider. The first part of the chapter, I don't think anybody considered this. Is at the end of the day, I think I brought it up as a possibility, but I only mentioned it like as a sentence in like chapter 235 or something like that, is the cup might just be a fucking cup. I mean, realistically, that's what they're talking about here, is that Zeno even brings up, it's like, alright, so the vessel of the dragon's blood, that's what it is, and it's sort of important, like, they can feel the presence of it, but realistically, whether the enemy has it or not, whether it gets destroyed, whether they try to use it, it's, at this point, it's got the remnants of the magic that gave the dragons their power, but that's it. They feel Zeno feels a bit of a connection to it, but that's where it stops and ends. Right? It's just an old goblet. You know, the implication of this scene speaks to that, because jae-ha even brings out, you're talking about the chalice from the legends. Is this thing so important? And Zeno then realizes, wait a minute, it's like he's sort of not guilty. I don't really know what the word is, but he needed to take a step back. Like, jae-ha's words actually affected him for a moment, and he stopped and he paused and thought about it and went, he's thinking 2,000 years ago. He's thinking that taking anything, it's one of those weird concepts where you have something and it means nothing. A bottle cap, let's say. Let's use a bottle cap. A Coca-Cola bottle cap, right? And it's important to you because you've held on to it for so long. It holds a level of sentimental value because you still remember the taste of that Coke. You had that Coke when you went to the amusement park with your dad and your mom when you were 9, right? So you've had that bottle cap. It's just a bottle cap. There's nothing super special about it except to you. And there's a sentimental value to it. I feel like that's what Zeno is recognizing here in this scene, that there's no danger to Chaogo having it. There's no danger of if it gets destroyed, if it gets this, if it gets that. It does have a bit of a healing process. They can feel the pull of it, like Zeno brought up, like, do you guys feel better? It shouldn't just because the little mist is around. This thing also holds a bit of healthiness and power towards the dragon, so it's got a level of importance, but it's not a make or break. Chaogo can't really do anything with it, so it's more than anything else sentimental value to Zeno. And he's realizing that and risking the lives of the dragons and the little mist and all that stuff to get this thing back, because the Dromos seem to be quite deadly, is not worth it. Right? Like, that's what Zeno... So he automatically goes, oh no, the priority right now is to get back Nien Yen and stuff like that. It's main Yen. It's not... Of course, you guys can just forget everything I just said about it and stuff like that, right? And this is where the other dragons say, Zeno, you're hiding your real feelings. This was the vessel, the first generation of the dragons and stuff like that. It has to mean something to you. They recognize that it's literally just important to him because he remembers it. It's from the first generation. It's from his old friends, everyone that he saw die, King Hiryu and the other 3 dragons. it means something to him. It's his bottle cap in this regard, right? So he keeps saying no, but really, and then Kija brings up like, he just keeps talking about they stole a very important treasure to you, and that much I understand. So let us, the four dragons, help you get it back. It matters to you. That's all we need to hear. So it's a very nice scene, but it also takes away. I'm sort of glad though, because this scene implies Zeno wouldn't be like so nonchalant about it. If it was more than sentimental value, he wouldn't be so nonchalant. So I am glad that a lot of people's theories, Chago's gonna make his own dragons, he's gonna have his own, and I would hate that. I told you guys before, I would probably have dropped the series if we were starting to add more dragons into the mix and stuff, because that's a very bad direction to take in my opinion. I'm not gonna get into the reasons, I already think I did that last review, but terrible idea. So I'm really glad that at the end of the day, this thing cannot create more dragons by the sounds of it. It's got very little or any magical power left other than its connection to make the dragons feel a little healthier, because it's from the shrine, it's from the first generation, yada yada yada. So it makes them feel got a little step, kick in their step, sort of skip in their step, I believe is the saying, so to speak. But other than that, that's all it is. I'm good with it. Some people might be disappointed that this plotline seemed like, oh, we're starting a new plotline. How important is this chalice? What can it do? What can it not do? What's the enemy going to do with it? And now it's sort of like, it doesn't really matter that much. So some people might be disappointed by that. I feel like all of the avenues for a plotline of this being a serious thing would either retcon some of Zeno's journey up to this point, at best, and at worst, it would lead us into some bad plot directions. No matter what plot avenue that was going to go, I feel like I wouldn't have cared for it. So, for me personally, I'm glad it's just a fucking cup. Alright? Either way, after this, they continue it. Mei Nian is actually here, and I'm clearly like, okay, it's a trap. It's a trap. It's a trap! So, as Admiral Akbar once said, it's a trap, and it's clearly a trap. So Mei Nian is actually like, I'm here, while jae-ha is like looking for her and stuff. They're tracking her down. It's like, Mei Nian, dear, you're here. And then boom, attacked by an arrow. jae-ha gets hit with an arrow in the shoulder and goes down. Of course, now he tells the other dragons to stay away. It's a trap. It's a trap! And boom, Shin-ah walks in and just boom, eye powers, dragon manifestation, boom, boom, boom. And of course the archers are terrified. Now, takes out the number of archers that are there, but Shin-ah, of course, that's all he's able to do. Remember, he can only basically open the power at full power one time, and then he starts to get a little So now one of the Dromos appear, probably the same one that took the cup. That's what Kija believes. Goes after the Dromos, and then there's not just smoke. There's like a bomb. He's setting off grenades or these little bombs and stuff like that. It appears. He jumps away. He hits him. And also stabs Kija in the leg. Gets him in the leg with his Wolverine sort of claw things, or his Vega claws or whatever like that from Street Fighter. And the soldiers seemingly where Shin-ah is of course paralyzed by using it once. And I feel once again, Shin-ah really got to be more careful. He's a good swordsman. So the fact that he uses this power, like when he's going to be incapacitated so quickly, he's really got to learn to manage that power. And I do feel that is a problem with Yona the Dawn. The inconsistency of Shin-ah, he seems to be able to use it like multiple times at once, or hold the power in bay for a few minutes, and then he gets the paralysis by using it on too many people for too long. But when it's convenient for the plot, it seems like he opens his eyes once, he incapacitates one person, and then boom, he's down for the count. It's like, if that were actually the case, which is very inconsistent in Yona, if that were actually the case, why isn't he sticking to his sword skills? He's got very good sword skills. So the fact that he's getting captured right now, I was kind of like, about. And then jae-ha, of course, fallen down because of the shoulder wound and stuff like that, doesn't seem to be able to, I guess he's like, shit, I'm bleeding or whatever. But it seems like this was way too easy. These grunt soldiers, one arrow to the shoulder is taking jae-ha out. I'm like, one little dragon, Shin-ah eyes taking out one archer. Now all of a sudden it's like, this is kind of weak sauce right now for me. I was a little disappointed in this, and Kija's like, don't touch my brothers, give me back my dragons, and boom, he attacks, and Kija's getting pissed off, and I'm like, alright, cool. Now the Dromos throws another bomb against him, And Zeno goes into the mix, and I'm like, all right, we got Zeno. We got Zeno jumping into the mix, but then boom, the Dromos managed to get behind Zeno, and seemingly, like is using a chloroform or something like that. And once again, immortality doesn't mean invincible, and there are ways to, of course, incapacitate or take down an immortal. So they did manage to seemingly capture Zeno in the only probable way able to. I'm surprised that Zeno, I know everything's happening incredibly fast, but the reason that Zeno is captured is because Shin-ha and jae-ha went down with pretty much without a fight, where we have seen for over 200 chapters for them to be able to take an arrow or a hit or use their powers for more than 5 seconds, and it seems like this is just plot convenience, but it's making them look very weak, where they just talked about last chapter feeling very strong. So, like, which one is it? Like, so plot convenience on the power scaling is going a little eh. I know it's a shoujo manga, but still, it was bothering me the first time I read the chapter. And then we jump over to a scene that this is not to make you like Chao Gol in any way, shape, or form, but clearly he has a reason as to why he took Mei Nian as his mistress, or etc., because Mei Nian was actually the one. It wasn't somebody in a wing in disguise. She was the one waving to jae-ha and stuff like that, and it was all to save Kaji. Now, once again, another useless character. That useless ass character is once again, because I complained about that last chapter review, this unnecessary character just caused more grief for the dragons and stuff. He is literally a plot device at best. He's a plot device, not really a character, and that's kind of annoying here, because Mei Nian just easily went, oh, please save Kaji, like, don't, like, release Kaji, and I will betray the dragons. Like, that is first off, I know she's in a bad way right now, but that is a horrible idea. She's not a very good, consistent character, and just like, and even Chao Gol is bringing up, where is this, you really helped me out there, but like, where is this strong and formidable woman who we've seen so much of that, but it's been so inconsistent. She is one of the most inconsistent characters written in all of Yona the Dawn. Yona made sense being terrified back in the day and growing into herself. Same with Lily. That all made sense. She was already at their level and now gives into despair. Like this, it's not consistent with her character. It's the same, I'm not going to open up old wounds, but this is the exact same issue that have another parallel once again to Yona, which they have to stop. If they want these to be different characters, stop making the parallels. She's given into despair, Val's dead, all hope is lost, I can't trust in the immortal goddamn dragons, and, to help me, she's just like Yona was back at the beginning of this arc. Or the last arc. I don't even know where one arc started and the other one began, honestly. But, yeah, we're going back to the one bad moment in Yona's character, and now we're copy and pasting it from Mei Nian, so the dragons get captured, and they are shown to be super weak for some reason, and, so I didn't really care for this section of the chapter. It didn't make the chapter bad, but as I kept reading, I was getting more and more bugged by the fact that all of these things are all due to plot convenience as the author needed them to be. Clearly, the author wants a method to the madness. Clearly, the mangaka is looking at, okay, I need the dragons to be captured right now because I want to do a bit of a rescue stage. Wants to get to a certain point. Clearly has a storyboard and wants to get to point D, right? So I need A, B, and C to happen, and it's seemingly, I'm guessing, trying to rush through that to get to something they're excited about, but they need the dragons captured for this. They need Mei Nian to be in this despair state. They need this, that, and the other thing. Instead of trying to figure something else out, they're just like, all right, we're going to do this, 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 and this just to get to the next stage. I feel like that's what's going on here. Maybe I'm wrong, but it feels rushed. That is a bit of an issue here. I think that this chapter is getting a little rushed to get to other plot points. It's like, all right, let's speed up the arc a little bit. I want to get to these key points in this arc, or the finale, or the climax of the arc, because the arc's been going on for quite a bit. I think that this must be the reason, because as I said, things are feeling a little inconsistent, a little copy and paste, a little plot convenient, So either way, yeah, we get this scene with Chao and Mei Nian when he first apparently met her. He was disguised. I'm getting a bit of a Jasmine from Aladdin feeling, like he was disguised inside the palace or something like that, or on his own grounds or whatever like that, because he's got the hood up and stuff, and she clearly doesn't know who this guy is right now, so maybe he's not the emperor at this point. This seems to be years ago. They don't look that much younger, and it's hard to tell if he's got the tattoo yet or anything like that, but they seem to be roughly like this was only a few years ago. And he's wondering, like, where, if you hate me, punch me, be outraged, threaten me, tell me you're gonna kill me, like, well, I'm the enemy who took your beloved Val, you know, like, what? Like, he's actually disappointed that she's in this state. Chao Guo right now, the one nice thing I'm going to say about him is he is exactly, as me as a reader, how I felt about Yona being in this state back at the beginning of this arc, and how I feel now about Mei Nian being resorted to a copy-paste of the worst moment in Yona now being done again with another character. And he's just disappointed. He's looking down and he's remembering when she was a badass warrior woman, found on the rocks, completely beaten black and blue, probably, like, not by him clearly, but beaten black and blue because she was a general, she was a warrior, so she fought, and she said, don't pull your punches. She was either training, or she was in a fight and she lost, or something like that, or it was, I'll never take orders from a woman general, and she got, you know, ganged up on or something like that, but she's wearing her wounds like a warrior's pride. And then even later says, as the scene goes on, but I'll continue the flashback part because it jumps around a little bit, she even says, like, looks at him, and he's like shocked to see a woman so badly beaten up, and she's just there on the stones, like kicking, you know, there at the river, and goes, what, you'll need money if you're here for the show, if you're gonna, like, basically, if you're gonna stare at me, if you're gonna, like, look at me and go gawk, you might as well, hey, pay up if you're gonna stare so long, sort of idea. Like, she had some sass, she had some smackdown talk to this guy, and didn't even know who it was. And clearly this was only a few years ago. She doesn't realize that that's the emperor or whatever, but even he remarks at the end of that page, or the end of that flashback, it's like, how boring. Like, how boring she became. He wanted her because she was like this back when he first encountered her. Now that she's become this timid kitten, the nickname he gave her, that's not what he wanted. That's not what he wanted. He, ironically, I believe, Chao Guo actually gave her the name Kitten because he saw her as a tiger and called her Kitten sort of as an ironic name. It's like, you are anything but. You are the jungle cat. You are this wild animal. You're this beast. You're this powerful woman that, like, made him pause. Remember, this is Chao Guo. He can get bitches for days. Paid or unpaid, whatever, slaves, all that stuff. He can get bitches for days. He's the emperor, right? So there's no reason for him to go after. This is the whole, I've been through a ton of women, and I can get them to be obedient and stuff like that. This one's different. This one's a challenge. Like, once again, we don't like Chao Guo, but there is something here where he was impressed by her back then, and now finds this state, the position she's in and how she's acting, just pitiful. It's boring. This is not who I first met, sort of idea. And that's sort of how, as a reader, I was feeling about Yona back then, and now how I'm feeling about Mei Nian now. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, as I said, there's a lot to talk about in that regard. They find out, of course, the Dromos comes and reports that Kaji, so she did that all this. She betrayed the dragons and set the trap, and helped set the trap, as Chao Guo remarks, so that Kaji would be allowed to be set free. And then to find out that Kaji already escaped, well, now he's running, so now he's got to be killed. So, and then she's just begging, Your Highness, Chao Guo, and stuff like that, and he's just like, this is not who I met. Like, so he's not going to listen. Like, once again, it's, funnily enough, if, in a weird, twisted way, because she's begging and pleading, like, no, that wasn't our agreement, can we amend the agreement, let him go, please, 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 like, let me talk to him and all this stuff, like, if we find him, don't kill him and stuff, and he's like, nope, because he's a heartless son of a bitch. However, I have a distinct feeling that because he's bored of this person, if she had said, no, Chao Guo, that was not in our agreement, you find him, you bring him to me, he goes, or I'll kill you, or I'll slit your throat in your sleep, or something. Like, had she stood her ground and been the formidable warrior that he first encountered and met and had the sass to talk back to him like this, he might have went and been amused. At the very least, it's toxic and it's not, and it's twisted and it's dark, but he might have been, all right then, kitten. All right. That's fair. Like, you're actually entertaining me in this twisted way. If she was entertaining him with the threats and the violence and making him surprised and entertained, that's the best way I can put it, is entertaining him, keeping him excited or entertained. He might have actually been more agreeable to, all right, capture him and bring him before me, do not kill him. He might have agreed to that. But because she's in this pitiful state, he's just like, nah, take her away. I got no time for this shit. This shit is boring. So there's a lot to unpack with that one. The last scene of the chapter is mostly just about Hawk, right? Hawk having a flashback scene. And as I said, like we talked a lot, the main majority thing to talk about was A, the goblet doesn't seem to be that important realistically. It's more sentimental value to Zeno. And B, the Chagol flashback. That was the big thing to talk about in this chapter. Pretty much, we don't see Val and Haitian. They're probably still in their battle and stuff like that. That's what Hawk remarks. But we basically follow Hawk. He knows that Yona walked away or whatever, or had to leave the area. Left him basically an arrow to say, hey, I left this place on purpose. Hawk defeated, of course, all the soldiers. He's a badass. Doesn't even seem to be tired. Now, he is a little worried and stuff like that about people, but he's like, calm down. I don't know what's been going on yet. I got to regroup with Yona. I got to regroup with the dragons. I got to find everybody, and then we can, go forward. He has a little flashback with Kisok that realistically doesn't really amount to much. It's pretty much that Kisok says, hey, you're going to, I'm going to let you rise through the Sky Tribe. You're no longer part of, the 35th Company or the 47th Company or whatever. You're actually a guard captain. You were promoted upon death for standing ground and during the flood and stuff like that. He's like, don't just kill me off. He goes, well, post-mortem, you've come back from the dead pretty much according to our records, so you were a guard captain. And he says, depending on your achievements in this particular operation, protecting the princess is the priority, yada yada yada. If you all make it back safe and your successes in this operation, you may rise even further and stuff. It's like, he's already the Wind Tribe. If he wanted to be a general, why would he care about this promotion? It's funny that Kisok brings this up. It's like, he was a general. If he wants his position back, he literally goes up to the Wind Tribe and goes, I'm going to be the general again. They'd all be like, yep, cool, awesome. That would be the end of it. So the fact that the promotions are being brought up is sort of funny to me in this useless type of way. I suppose it's talking more about how Kisok is behaving, more so still trying to be the manipulator in a way, trying to dangle a fruit in front of him. But does he realize that A, Hawk doesn't give a shit about promotions, and B, if he wanted to be the top military rank tomorrow, he could just go and be that? The Wind Tribe decides for himself, not soo-won. Soo-won does not get to appoint the generals. We know that from past arcs, that the tribe appoints the generals. So if Mundok says, yeah, here we go, that's where it ends. Or Taiso. So, yeah. So it's kind of weird in that regard for the flashback. So either way, this isn't about just rescuing Mei Nian. I got to get it together. Everything will be taken away from me. So Hawk is determined. He's ready to go. He pulls the arrow out of the ground. He thinks the enemy is approaching, but it's Kija. So Kija actually got away. Not all the dragons got captured, but Jae-ha, Shin-a, and Zeno all got captured. Now, once again, I'm not that worried about them. I think this is just a plot device to get us to a certain position. We want... As I said, I think this is just being a bit of a rush chapter just to showcase, yeah, we captured the dragons, Chagol has the dragons, and because I need a certain conversation to happen, or I need, you know what I mean? I don't know if any of you guys are writers, but that's basically what happens when you have a storyboard and you're like, okay, in this arc, I need these three things to happen. This conversation, this battle, and this death, for example. Now, how do I get there? And sometimes the way to get there isn't always the cleanest. It's not always the best. It's not the best paced. It's not the best reasoning. It's not the best this, that, and the other thing. But these key points are all three awesome points of an arc, and you want to get there. So I feel like that's the reason the dragons were shown to be kind of weak in this instance, and they've been captured for the sole purpose of moving the plot along to a position that the manga is excited to get to. That's what I'm going to hold for the belief. That's why I'm not going to totally say, oh no, this chapter's no good, this chapter has a lot of problems and blah blah blah. It does have issues, but I think that the issues are there because it's just excitement and just jumping the gun a little bit. running before you walk sort of idea, that kind of a mentality. Just trying to get to these newer stages of the arc. So I'm just going to withhold judgment. If we get some really cool chapters coming down the pipeline here in the future, in the next few months, that result because of the dragon's capture and yada yada yada, and it moves the plot along at a really nice pace, then maybe we'll be alright, you know. So I'm going to withhold judgment for this chapter. It certainly was my favorite, as you guys can tell, but it is what it is. And then so Kija's here, and he says that jae-ha and the others were captured, and that's the end part of the chapter. So as I said, there was a lot to unpack with this particular chapter, so this review is going to be quite long, of course, probably about 30 minutes or so, I'm sure. But whatever, it is what it is. This was the review, though. I think I covered all the bases. I knew there was going to be a lot of discussion, a lot of me talking your guys' ear off about the child goal stuff, about the Mania End pitiful state stuff, and the fact of the matter is, Hawk is now on a rescue mission. Now, he's got to decide. Does he go after Yona, or does he go help the dragons? Well, he does not know if Yona's in danger or not, and he's trusting in Yona due to the arrow message. So he's probably going to go forth and kick some Dromos ass, which once again, the power scaling is sort of been off ever since the Dromos were revealed. The Dromos are way too strong for this story. The Dromos are being shown as being way too strong, and they shouldn't be in the regards that they are. So I'm hoping, not only did this, as I said, this chapter from a power scaling perspective was showing the dragons being exceptionally weak to regular foot soldiers, and also just one Dromos. And the fact of the matter is that I think we can fix all this by having Hawk go in and just... You know, remember when he took out one of the strongest enemy generals in all of South Kai because Zeno was hurt? The guy who's an immortal, who can't die? And he was like, somebody hurt you. It was that guy. Alright, boom, baby. And just lobbed the head off of a strong warrior main general of all of South Kai with one fell swoop like it was nothing. Yeah, that's what we need to see Hawk do against the Dromos. Okay, we need a few more dead Dromos because they are just showing to be way too OP at this point, and it's kinda came out of nowhere for me. They should be strong, but they shouldn't be this strong. They shouldn't be broken, and they're kind of feeling a little broken. They're kind of feeling like the shadows, like they can't be touched, they can't be caught, they can't be, you know, like they're just these slippery little things that seem to always get their way with no damage done, no arms lost, no dead Dromos, and everything seems to go their way, and I'm just not buying it. With the power behind the dragons and Hawk and, well, how about soo-won's bodyguard who somehow lost? That makes no goddamn sense either. So, yeah. Going forward, I think we need to see some Dromos asses get kicked. Or we really do. And I'm interested to see where the whole capturing of the dragons is going to progress the plot, and if it's going to be a good avenue to take. And then, once again, this chapter might have just jumped the gun a little bit and rushed so we could get to that point. So, anyways, that's the review. I've rattled on long enough. I hope you guys enjoyed the review, and once again, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. This has been your host, Griever, as always, with another chapter, Chapter 237 of Yona of the Dawn, and we will see you guys back here for Chapter 238. Looking forward to it. Know you guys are too, and we'll see you next time. Sayonara.